In this module, we shall learn about the burden of public debt. The study of public debt is an integral part of the study of public finance, apart from the study of public revenues and expenditure. Since the Great Depression of 1930, public debt has assumed greater significance in the process of economic growth. Keynes saw public debt as an instrument of mobilizing saving, investment, and improvement in standard of living. Public debt refers to the borrowing of government from internal and external sources. A government borrows money when its revenue falls short of its expenditures. Generally, the government raises debt through issue of bonds or treasury bills with the promise to pay interest to the bondholders at the specified intervals. In this module, we will highlight the concept, causes and sources of public debt. After studying this module, you shall be able to know and learn about the concept of public debt, identify the factors behind rising public debt, identify the burden caused by public debt. First, let us understand the concept of public debt. Public debt refers to all type of government borrowings. Professor Taylor defines the public debt as government debt arises out of borrowings by the treasury from banks, business organizations and individuals. The government sources debt from both internal as well as external sources such as central bank, foreign governments, foreign financial institutions, etc. Debt is raised through issue of bonds and treasury bills with a promise to pay the principal along with the interest at specified intervals or in lump sum at the end of the stipulated period. Thus, as described by Taylor, the debt is in the form of promise by the treasury to pay to the holders of these promises a principal sum and instances interest on that principal. It is the gross amount of government liabilities reduced by the amount of equity and financial derivatives held by the government. Because debt is a stock rather than a flow, it is measured as of a given date, usually the last date of the fiscal year. The role of government debt has been sources of debate. The classical economists such as Adam Smith saw state as wasteful that borrows from the private capitalist for unproductive purposes and hinders the capital formation. They believed in laissez-faire economy and the presence on an invisible hand which will restore full employment without any government intervention. Ricardo, Malthus, Say and other classical economists disapproved the notion of public debt. Accordingly, government borrowing withdraws resources from the private employment and unbalanced budgets expand the government activity in unproductive areas. They argued that public debt lead to currency depreciation and loan repayment along with the interest payments make the future financing even more difficult. However, 1930 was a period of economic upheaval. With Great Depression, there was a marked shift in the thinking of economic pioneers. It saw emergence of Keynesian school of thought which disregarded the presence of any invisible hand and argued that full employment cannot be restored automatically. Keynes argued in favor of public debt and was of the notion that it does not constitute any burden on the society. The public debt during the period of Great Depression was instrumental in getting the economy back on track. Through debt creation, government could mobilize the private savings, raise the resources for capital formation and thus generate employment and raise effective demand. It curbs the consumption and raises the savings necessary for future capital formation and income generation. Since then, public debt of nations have increased many-fold and occupy an important position in the national budgets of many economies. Next, we shall study the need for public debt. Owing to ever-increasing economic and developmental activities of the governments across nations have accumulated huge sum of public debt. The recent global economic crisis forced many advanced countries such as US to accumulate huge amount of debt. The US and Indian budget deficits stood at 72.5% and 49% of their respective GDP as on 2012. Public debt has assumed significant importance in the recent years because of the following reasons. First, deficit budget. The government borrows to cover the bridge temporary budget deficit raised due to large expenditure incurred on administration and for financing the unforeseen events like floods, famines, etc. In such an event, taxes cannot entirely bridge the budget deficit as people oppose temporary taxes. Second, to finance war. The government borrows funds to finance wars. Modern wars are costly due to the use of modern ammunition, tools. They cannot be financed entirely through taxation, thus public debt becomes necessary. Moreover, defense is a sign of country's strength and government spends huge sum of money on its upkeep. Third, natural calamities. Natural calamities like earthquake, flood, famines, etc. lead to an increase in government expenditure in order to provide relief to the victims and to build new infrastructure. In order to finance its expenditure, government borrows funds. Fourth, economic development. Public debt is considered as an important tool for the economic development of a country. Countries raise funds both internally and externally. Developing countries lack resources to finance their expenditures on public enterprises, projects involving huge capital with long gestation period and other social economic programs and infrastructure. Moreover, these projects cannot be financed totally from government revenues. Developed countries borrow to modernize and upkeep their infrastructure facilities like roads, railways, power plants, etc. Moreover, the developing countries are also characterized by low saving ratios, low effective demand, unemployment and large-scale poverty. Here the rate of capital formation and private investment is relatively low and thus is the rate of income generation. Thus, government has to increase the investment and it can secure the capital for investment by raising public debt. Fifth, to finance the public enterprises. Public revenue generated through sources such as tax and non-tax levies are insufficient to meet the growing requirement of funds for financing of public enterprises such as roads, railways, telecoms, etc. The government can meet these requirements through public borrowings. Sixth, to check the economic stability. Government borrows to stabilize economy, to provide safeguard against depression, to control inflationary conditions. In period of depression, level of aggregate demand is low. Hence, the government borrows to spur up the investment and employment and hence to raise the effective demand. In period of high inflation, when there is excess supply of money, the government resorts to borrowing funds from public to reduce the money held with the public in an attempt to control demand and inflation. Seventh, to provide foreign exchange. In case of the balance of payment deficit, foreign exchange is required to correct it. The government borrows foreign exchange reserves from foreign governments and from international financial institutions. Eighth, soft revenue option. Increasing taxes are often met with opposition from the public. Moreover, governments are always in need of funds. Government borrowings are soft revenue options for meeting over the increasing expenditures. In recent times, the need for public borrowing has increased to factors like increasing expenditure on social security schemes, increase in the prices, growth of administrative expenses, etc. Further, we shall learn about the sources of public debt. There are two main sources of public debt. First is the internal sources. Internal debt refers to the government loans secured within the country from the public and financial institutions. The government raises loans through treasury bills, bonds, loans, etc. They are floated in capital markets within the political boundaries of the country. Individuals, banking and non-banking institutions and the central bank are the main sources of internal borrowings. The second is the external source. The debt incurred through borrowing of the government from foreign government and international institutions such as World Bank, IMF, etc. is classified as external debt. They are secured in foreign currency and repayment is made in foreign exchange. The foreign borrowings are important for a developing country as it helps to meet the balance of payment deficits, bridges the deficiency of capital and acts as a source of technical knowledge. However, such resources need to be used with caution. External debt involves transfer of resources from debtor to creditor countries. The burden of internal debt is less than that of the external debt, as they are mostly for the short term period and does not adversely affect the economy as resources are transferred within the economy. Next, we shall understand the classification of public debt. Based on its characteristics, public debt can be classified into the followings. First, internal and external debt. The classification of public debt under these two heads have been discussed in section 5 on the sources of public debt, internal and external. Second is the productive and unproductive debt. Productive debt is defined as a loan which is used for the productive purposes and is used to add the productive capacity of an economy. Such projects involve long gestation period, therefore such loans are generally long term. They yield income to the government like railways, construction, irrigation, power, etc. and are self-liquidating. Unproductive debt, on the other hand, does not yield any income to the government and are incurred to cover the budgetary deficits and finance the expenditure related to the natural calamities, war and other unforeseen events, etc. It is also known as dead weight debt as it does not lead to any asset creation. Third is the short term and long term debt. Short term debt is defined as that debt which is repayable within a period of 3 to 4 months, that is, must be paid within a year. This debt is like treasury bills and ways and mean advances from the central banks. No separate fund are created for such debt. They are used for the temporary purposes and generally carry low rate of interest. Long-term loans, on the other hand, are repayable generally after a period of 1 year and bear a higher rate of interest. They are funded debts as debt is paid out of a fund created for the purpose of repayment. Fourth is voluntary and compulsory debt. Voluntary debt is defined as that debt which is paid without any legal enforcement. Public is free to subscribe to such debts, whereas compulsory debts are those debts which are forcibly enforced by the government and hence are involuntary. Though rare, such debts are raised during the wars, calamities and emergencies. Fifth, marketable and non-marketable debt. Marketable debts are the securities that are negotiated in open market. For example, securities sold in the secondary market. Non-marketable loans are the securities that cannot be sold in the open market, for example, provident funds, NSC, etc. Public and private debt. There has been wide-ranging debate between the classical economist and the post-classical economist such as Keynes over what constitutes public and private debt. Private debt refers to the debt incurred by the individual economic units to expand and manage their business activities. Private companies raise funds by selling equity shares in the company or through debt financing in the form of loans and lines of credit. While the classical economist considered the public debt as bad for the economy as is not conducive for creation of wealth and therefore it must be constrained. However, Keynes argued that public debt differs from private debt as it can be raised from the external sources. Government borrowings resemble the private debt in certain aspects, but the differences between the two are more prominent. The following are the key parameters on which public debt differs from the private debt. The government can compel the public to lend funds to it in case of war, natural calamities, or even during the period of economic crisis, but in case of private debt, an economic entity cannot force or compel another individual or entity to lend it money. Under abnormal conditions, a government can refuse the repayment of public debt, but the private individuals or entities cannot refuse repayment of loan. Because of inherent nature of the government and high credit worthiness, it can borrow from public for longer periods. Even it can borrow at a lower rate of interest. However, private individuals or entities do not enjoy such liberties. Due to risk involvement on the part of the lender, they can borrow only for the short period of time and are generally charged higher rate of interest. The government can repay its loan through revenues collected through taxes and non-tax duties. Private debt is repaid through the fund's own sources such as the reserved savings. Public debt has a significant impact on the well-being of an economy, and excessive public debt can be a sign of economic weakness. With regard to private debt, both theoretical and empirical evidences show that recessions are steeper in countries with high levels of private debt, but overall economic effects of the debt measures on GDP and consumption growth are limited. Now, we shall learn about the burden of public debt. Since the Great Depression of 1930s, the public debt of the nation has increased many-fold. It rose from 53% of GDP to 80% of GDP in advanced countries during 2007 and 12. The impact of public debt on an economy depends upon variety of factors: the sources of debt, the use to which it is put to, terms and conditions, maturity period, and interest rate. The concept of burden of public debt has been a source of debate among various economists. According to Buchanan, 1958, the primary real burden of public debt falls onto the future generations. Since payment of taxes is a burden itself, debt financing postpones the levy of taxes to the future generations. Bowen Davis Kopp, 1960, argued that public debt reduces the amount available for private consumption by the community at the time borrowed funds are used, and thus it affects the present consumption expenditure. According to Modigliani, Burden Thesis, 1961, public debt, whether raised internally or externally, is advantageous to the generation present at the time of increase and will pose a burden on future generation through reduction in stock of capital. The gross burden of public debt on the future generation can be measured by the interest charged on it. This burden can be reduced if rise in debt is accompanied with the increase in the government expenditure to finance the productive capital formation. Modigliani argues against the public debt as it can alter the use of private resources and will displace the private investment. Moreover, it can contribute to rise in income disparities in underdeveloped and developing countries as it benefits the rentier class receiving interest on government bonds. Hence, it seems that Different economists perceive public debt differently, but there is no unanimity on the definition. Public borrowings create monetary and real burden on an economy and its public. In most of the cases, it leads to the redistribution of resources from more productive to less productive sectors. The public debt tends to increase the disposable income of the present generation and reduction of disposable income of future generations through increase in taxes to generate funds for debt repayment. Burden of internal debt. Direct monetary burden. In case of internal debt, there is transfer of resources from one agent to another, that is from the hands of the public to the government. Aggregate position remains the same in this case, as there is no direct monetary burden on the nation, as the repayment of debt and the interest involves a transfer of purchasing power within the country. However, when we take into account the burden imposed on general public, whenever a government has to pay off its debts, it raises the taxes to generate funds. It poses additional tax burden on the future generation. Increase in the taxes can lead to the reduction of disposable income and private consumption expenditure. Next is indirect monetary burden. The loans raised by the government leads to the creation of additional demand for goods and services, and in case of the supply shortages can lead to the higher prices. Next is the direct real burden. It refers to the burden borne by the society due to the sacrifice of the economic welfare and stresses the taxpayers. The public debt is acceptable if it leads to expansion of productive capacity and a return on it outweighs the cost of the debt. However, a debt incurred to finance unproductive activities can lead to serious loss of social economic welfare. Next is indirect real burden. Higher taxes imposed by the government reduces the disposable income and discourages the taxpayers to work hard for higher incomes. A fall in the disposable income reduces the aggregate demand and thus adversely affect the productive capacity of the economy. Inflation. The monetized public debt raised by the government heightens the inflationary expectations. The resulting increase in the money supply leads to the additional demand and thus creates inflationary pressures in the economy. If the government raises indirect taxes for the purpose of raising funds for debt repayment, it may fuel inflation due to the resulting rise in the prices of the goods and services, adversely affecting the purchasing power of the poor. Unjustified transfers. The servicing of internal debt in the form of debt repayment and interest payment involves the transfer of income from present to the future generation and from active to inactive organizations. Next is the effect on the private investment. Public debt crowds out the private investment. Debt servicing involves huge interest payments. Therefore, there is transfer of resources from private sector to the government. Lesser funds are available for the private capital formation and with the government for development activities such as infrastructure development. Lack of economic infrastructure further discourages the private investment, which ultimately affects the economic growth. Effect on social development. Debt servicing implies fewer funds available for the socio-economic infrastructure development, especially for the social development activities like health, education, sanitation, old age and family welfare, etc. Now we will talk about the burden of the external debt. During the initial stages, external debt is beneficial for developing countries as it brings with it necessary foreign exchange reserves, helps to bridge the saving investment gap and brings along the technical know-how. Thus, it increases the resources available to the country. But its repayment and servicing creates a burden on them, especially when they are already facing payment problems. The recent fall of the Greece economy is one example in this regard. Direct monetary burden. External debt involves transfer of resources or funds from the debtor country to the creditor country and institutions. Higher debt and associated debt servicing implies greater burden on the debtor country. Direct real burden. External debt causes the loss of economic welfare of the citizens of the debtor country. It has to reserve the resources for debt repayment and servicing, which means fewer funds available for their consumption. For example, a country earns the foreign exchange from the export of its goods and services, which can be utilized for the import of advanced goods and technology. However, in presence of external debt, it has to create funds out of these reserves for debt repayment. Indirect monetary and real burden. Debt servicing involves raising funds through the increase in the taxes and reduction of public expenditure. This in turn affects the domestic production, consumption and allocation of resources. Debt trap. Countries, especially the developing and underdeveloped ones, are heavily dependent on the external borrowings for their development and non-development programs. Moreover, they find it difficult to service their debt out of their own resources and in turn borrow more to repay their loans. This creates a vicious circle where countries get debt trapped. Unproductive foreign debt. External debt, which is incurred for unproductive purposes, will pose greater burden and involve greater economic sacrifice on the debtor nation. Burden on foreign exchange reserves. As mentioned earlier, servicing of external debt requires foreign exchange. During international crisis, there is often a contagion effect where a crisis in one country easily spreads to other countries. A good amount of foreign exchange reserves provide a cushion against such adverse events. Therefore, a country must maintain good foreign exchange reserve. Domination by the creditor country. Many times a creditor country poses restrictions on the debtor country, especially if it is a small underdeveloped one. Thus, external debt might involve domination by the creditor country on the debtor country. Further, we shall discuss the debt which is created through money. Debt through created money or deficit financing, as popularly known, refers to the borrowing by the government to cover up the budgetary deficit. The central bank and the public finance such borrowings. It has become the most popular source of capital formation and a tool for financing the public investment required for promoting growth. The central bank, in order to finance this deficit, prints additional money. They buy bonds issued by the government through newly printed money. This monetized deficit creates additional burden on the society. As newly printed money comes into circulation, the money supply increases and public will have more money in their hands. This leads to the creation of additional demand for goods and services and thus leads to inflation. And it also spurs the inflationary expectations. In order to curtail the demand, the government raises the interest rates. However, higher interest rates discourages the private investment. Thus, deficit financing lead to the crowding out of the private investment. The government, already facing a budgetary deficit, finds it difficult to manage such a situation. Thus, we cannot neglect the importance of public debt for a country as long as it adds to the productive capacity of the country and the returns from it outweighs the cost of debt financing. It is advisable to undertake such debt when faced with resource crunch. Given the negative effects of the public debt, a country must be conscious in its approach towards debt. Let us now summarize what we have studied in this module. Public debt refers to all type of government borrowing from internal and external sources. Internal debt refers to the borrowing from sources within the country, that is, from public and domestic financial institutions. External debt, on the other hand, refers to the borrowing of the government from foreign governments and institutions such as World Bank and IMF, etc. A country raises the debt for the variety of reasons, such as for economic development, to finance war, to cover up the budget deficit, as a soft revenue option, to have control over the economic fluctuations, etc. Based on its characteristic, we can classify the public debt such as short-term and long-term, internal and external, marketable and non-marketable debt, etc. Public debt poses serious economic burden of various kinds on the debtor country. It leads to the crowding out of the private investment and poses additional burden on the future generations. Deficit financing refers to the borrowings by the government to cover up its budgetary deficit. The central bank and the public finance such borrowings.